Somewhere beneath the shattered fields of Flanders, in a hole scraped from cold Belgian clay, a soldier sits with mud caked into every crease of his uniform. The artillery has paused, for now. The silence is almost worse than the shelling. Rain drips through corrugated iron overhead, pooling in the duckboards beneath his boots. His hands are numb, his rations are cold. Then from inside his coat he pulls a battered tin, a Klim-powdered milk can, sent weeks ago by his wife, still faintly smelling of home. Within minutes that tin is no longer a container, it is a stove, and the water heating inside it will become the most important cup of tea in the world. This is the story of the forgotten First World War trench stove, a masterpiece of improvised fieldcraft born not in a workshop, but in the mud, fueled by the sheer stubborn will of men who refuse to stop surviving. The anatomy of a care package, why the tin mattered more than the contents. When families on the home front packed their Liebesgaben, their gifts of love, they poured hope into every tin. Soldiers received care packages stocked with tobacco, biscuits, condensed milk, jam, and tinned maconochi stew. For the men receiving them, the contents were nourishment for the soul as much as the body. But veterans knew something civilians didn't. Once the food was gone, the tin itself became one of the most valuable tools in the trench. A soldier would punch a series of small draft holes around the lower circumference of the empty Klim tin, cut a small fuel door near the base, and nest a smaller tobacco or condensed milk tin inside as a burner cradle. Compact enough to hide beneath a shelf of sandbags, smokeless enough to evade snipers, and reliable enough to boil water in under 10 minutes, this improvised device was engineering brilliance forged entirely from desperation and love. Fire and fieldcraft, managing fuel and the daily ritual of tea. Open wood fires were suicidal. Smoke was a sniper's invitation, and flame was a target after dark. So soldiers adapted relentlessly. Solid fuel tablets burned hot and nearly smokeless inside the Klim tin stove. When tablets ran out, men rendered tallow from ration fat, soaking cardboard strips to create slow-burning wicks. Others packed sand-filled petrol tins with gasoline to sustain a communal flame long enough to heat stew for an entire section. And through every hardship, tea remained the psychological lifeline of the trenches. A soldier cupping a hot tin with numb hands wasn't simply warming his fingers, he was reclaiming his humanity. That act of making fire, boiling water and brewing something warm in a hostile world is one every modern bushcrafter still instinctively understands. It was never just about the calories. It was about agency, dignity, and the quiet defiance of simply carrying on, carrying. Beyond the stove, shelter, hygiene, and the invisible art of staying alive, the trench stove existed within a broader ecosystem of improvised survival that, rarely makes it into history books. Soldiers built what they called funk holes into trench walls, lining them with salvaged timber and waterproof ground sheets. They countered trench foot with whale oil and body-warmed dry socks, managed lice with candle flames run along tunic seams, and crafted sniper hides from burlap and mud pulled from no man's land under cover of darkness. None of these techniques came from a manual. They were learned through the brutal attrition of watching others make fatal mistakes and remembering. What the trench stove teaches us today. The men who survived the Western Front were not the strongest or the fastest. They were, honestly, the most adaptable. They looked at an empty tin and saw a stove. They looked at a flooded hole and saw a home. The Klim tin stove is not a relic. It is a philosophy. It tells us that the resources we need are almost always closer than we think, and that ingenuity applied under pressure is among the most powerful survival tools ever developed. Stay warm, stay fed, stay human, and never underestimate what you can build from what you already have. If this episode opened your eyes to the hidden depths of wartime fieldcraft, then you are exactly who Fieldcraft Chronicles was built for. Subscribe to the channel and share this video with every history enthusiast, bushcrafter and self-reliance seeker in your life. These stories deserve to be remembered, not just in museums, but in the field, around the fire, in the hands of people who understand that the greatest survival tool ever forged is the human will to endure. Fieldcraft Chronicles, where history meets the wild.